Good afternoon. Today's date is June 18th, 2025. Time is 4:30 p.m. Now, this next video is a culmination of what I've been talking about on a lot of my videos. As far as the math ain't mathin' for the beauty pageant that was held on November 5th, 2024. Now, there's several people that are involved in this report. The person who's putting it out, or the group that's putting it out, I will put their information in the comments. It's a Substack. It was on Substack. And there's two other organizations that are actually working with this. One you heard about as far as the Rockland County court case that's coming up in regards to this very incident. And of course, there's my favorite one, Election Truth Alliance. Now, in this, and I'm going to have my phone read it for you, and of course you can go to them to the Substack for the original copy if you would like, or I can just put it in the comments. Hopefully, sometimes when I put these links in the comments, they disappear, so hopefully that won't be the case. But if you have the name of the Substack, that should work as well. But basically, it goes on to say, it starts talking about the beauty pageant and how the math isn't mathing and why it isn't mathing. This has been my suspect, along with these other organizations, for all these months. I've talked about it on many occasions. I didn't have a smoking gun. You could probably call this as close to a smoking gun as you can get. Okay, so listen to it. Some of it's highly technical. I mean, for me anyway. I'm the sharpest pencil in the box. But listen to it, and as I said, take everything with a grain of salt, although do your own due diligence with anything that I say or anything anybody else says. As far as I'm concerned, it's for informational purposes only, in case TikTok is listening. But please listen, like, follow, and by all means, especially with this one, repost. Thank you.
They didn't just change the machines, they rewired the election. The Dark Enlightenment coup. The missing votes uncovered in Smart Elections legal case in Rockland County, New York, are just the tip of the iceberg, an iceberg that extends across the swing states and into Texas. On Monday, an investigator story finale hit the news cycle. Pro V&V, one of only two federally accredited testing labs, approved sweeping last-minute updates to ES&S voting machines in the months leading up to the 2024 election, without independent testing, public disclosure, or full certification review. These changes were labeled de minimis, a term meant for trivial tweaks, but they touched ballot scanners, altered reporting software, and modified audit files, yet were all rubber-stamped with no oversight. That revelation is a shock to the public, but for those who've been digging into the bizarre election data since November, this isn't the headline, it's the final piece to the puzzle. While Pro V&V was quietly updating equipment in plain sight, a parallel operation was unfolding behind the curtain, between tech giants and Donald Trump, and it started with a long-forgotten sale. At NN, a power cord becomes a backdoor. In March 2021, Leonard Leo, the judicial kingmaker behind the modern conservative legal machine, sold a quiet Chicago company by the name of Triplight for $1.65 billion. The buyer, Eaton Corporation, a global power infrastructure conglomerate, that just happened to have a partnership with Peter Thiel's Palantir. To most, Triplight was just a hardware brand, battery backups, surge protectors, power strips. But in America's elections, Triplight devices were something else entirely. They are physically connected to ES&S central tabulators and electionware servers, and Dominion tabulators and central servers across the country. And they aren't dumb devices, they are smart UPS units, programmable, updatable, and capable of communicating directly with the election system via USB, serial port, or Ethernet. ES&S systems, including central tabulators and electionware servers, rely on Triplight UPS devices. ES&S's electionware suite runs on Windows OS, which automatically trusts connected UPS hardware. If Eaton pushed an update to those UPS units, it could have gained root-level access to the host tabulation environment, without ever modifying certified election software. In Dominion's Democracy Suite 5.17, the drivers for these UPS units are listed as optional, meaning they can be updated remotely without triggering certification requirements or oversight. Optional means unregulated. Unregulated means invisible. And invisible means perfect for infiltration. A new purpose for the partnership. After the Triplight acquisition, Eaton stayed under the radar, but in May 2024, it resurfaced with an announcement that escaped most headlines. Eaton was deepening its partnership with Palantir Technologies. Let's be clear, Palantir wasn't brought in for customer service, it was brought in to do what it does best: manage, shape, and secure vast streams of data, quietly. According to Eaton's own release, Palantir's role would include AI-driven oversight of connected infrastructure, automated analysis of large datasets, and most critically, secure erasure of digital footprints. The digital janitor, also known as forensic sanitization, it was now being embedded into Eaton-managed hardware connected directly to voting systems. Palantir didn't change the votes, it helped ensure you'd never prove it if someone else did. Ballot proof, the front end for scrubbing democracy. Enter the ballot scrubbing platform Ballot Proof, co-created by Ethan Sheotrin, a longtime employee of Elon Musk and current Doge employee. Ballot Proof was pitched as a transparency solution, an app to verify scanned ballot images and support election integrity, with Palantir's AI controlling the backend and Ballot Proof cleaning the front. Only one thing was missing: the signal to go live. September 2024. Eaton and Musk make it official. Then came the final public breadcrumb. In September 2024, Eaton formally partnered with Elon Musk. The stated purpose? A vague, forward-looking collaboration focused on grid resilience and next-generation communications. But buried in the partnership documents was this line: exploring integration with Starlink's emerging low-orbit DDC infrastructure for secure operational continuity. The activation: Starlink goes direct to cell. That signal came on October 30, 2024. Just days before the election, Musk activated 265 brand new low Earth orbit LEO V2 mini satellites, each equipped with direct-to-cell DDC technology capable of processing, routing, and manipulating real-time data, including voting data, through his satellite network. DDC doesn't require routers, towers, or a traditional SIM. It connects directly from satellite to any compatible device, including embedded modems and air-gapped voting systems, smart UPS units, or unsecured auxiliary hardware. From that moment on, commands could be sent from orbit. Patch delivery became invisible to domestic monitors. Compromised devices could be triggered remotely. This groundbreaking project that should have taken 2+ years to build was completed in just under 10 months. Elon Musk boasts endlessly about everything he's launching, building, buying, or even just thinking about, whether it's real or not. But he pulls off one of the largest and fastest technological feats in modern-day history, and says nothing. One might think that was kind of weird. Lasers from space. According to New York Times reporting, on October 5, just before Starlink's DDC activation, Musk texted a confidant: "I'm feeling more optimistic after tonight. Tomorrow we unleash the anomaly in the matrix." Then, an hour later: "This isn't something on the chessboard, so they'll be quite surprised. Lasers from space." It read like a riddle. In hindsight, it was a blueprint. Let's review what was in place. This wasn't a theory, it was a full-scale operation. A systemic digital occupation, clean, credentialed, and remote-controlled. The outcome: data that makes no statistical sense. A clean sweep in all 7 swing states. The fall of the blue wall. 88 counties flipped red. Not one flipped blue. Every victory landed just under the threshold that would trigger an automatic recount. Donald Trump outperformed expectations in down-ballot races with margins never before seen, while Kamala Harris simultaneously underperformed in those exact same areas. If one were to accept these results at face value, Donald Trump, a 34-count convicted felon, supposedly outperformed Ronald Reagan. According to the co-founder of the Election Truth Alliance, these anomalies didn't happen nationwide. They didn't even happen across all voting methods. This just doesn't reflect human voting behavior. They were concentrated, targeted, specific to swing states and Texas, and specific to election day voting. And the supposed explanation? Her policies were unpopular. Let's think this through logically. We're supposed to believe that in all the battleground states, Democratic voters were so disillusioned by Vice President Harris's platform that they voted blue down ballot, but flipped to Trump at the top of the ticket. Not in early voting, not by mail, with exception to Nevada, only on election day, and only after a certain threshold of ballots had been cast, where VP Harris's numbers begin to diverge from her own party, and Trump's suddenly begin to surge. As President Biden would say, "Come on, man." In the world of election data analysis, there's a term for that: vote flipping algorithm. Billionaires and tech giants pulled off the crime of the century. Why? There wasn't just one reason, there were many. Elon Musk himself hinted at the stakes. He faced the real possibility of a prison sentence if Trump lost. He launched his bid for Twitter at $20 billion over market value, just 49 days after Putin invaded Ukraine. That alone should have raised every red flag. But when the ROI is $15 trillion in mineral rights tied to Ukraine losing the war, and geopolitical deals Trump could greenlight, it wasn't a loss, it was leverage. It's no secret Musk was in communication with Putin for over 2 years. He even granted Starlink access to Russian forces. That's not just profiteering, that's treason. Then there's Peter Thiel, and the so-called broligarchs, tech billionaires, who worship, at the altar of shower-avoidant blogger Curtis Yarvin. They casually joke about humane genocide for non-producers, and have long viewed democracy as a nuisance, an obstacle to their vision of hypercapitalism, and themselves as the permanent ruling elite. Well, what is the elimination of Medicaid if not humane genocide? And does anyone really wonder why his 40-year-old protege and political rookie, J.D. Vance, is vice president? With this technology in place, if the third-term legislation were to pass, it would hand Vance a minimum of 12 years at the helm of Thiel's regime. And of course, Donald Trump himself at one point stating, he spent a year telling his followers he didn't need their votes. In 4 years, you don't have to vote again. We'll have it fixed so good. You're not gonna have to vote. Trump was facing 88 felony indictments. He was desperate to avoid conviction, and locked in a decades-long alliance with Vladimir Putin, an alliance that's now impossible to ignore. Look no further than his policy trail. He froze aid to Ukraine, and has threatened to place sanctions on them. While planning to lift sanctions off Russia, he openly campaigned for anti-EU candidates, and sided with Russia in multiple key United Nations votes related to the Ukraine conflict. Let's be clear, Donald Trump pledges allegiance to a red, white, and blue flag. It's just not the American one. What happens now? We don't need permission to enforce the Constitution. We need courage. While state attorneys general begin their investigations, it only takes one U.S. senator to initiate the disqualification proceedings against the unelected and unfit occupant of the Oval Office. State attorneys general and investigators conduct independent audits of UPS firmware on Dominion, NES, and S machines, subpoena communications between Eaton, Palantir, Starlink employees, and Pro-V&V, audit Starlink satellite logs for the week of the election, freeze uncertified infrastructure updates, recount physical ballots by hand. Now they're rolling out the same technological toolkit abroad, forcing countries into Starlink contracts in exchange for tariff relief. The US election wasn't their endgame, it was their litmus test. Want the truth they're not telling you? For fearless reporting and expert-backed research, read the Common Coalition report. And if you believe in funding real, independent work, support our all-volunteer team here. Thanks for reading. This will hold. Subscribe for free to receive new posts, and support my work. Subscribe. 18,258 likes. N. 6,242 restacked.